What is going on, everyone? Mets Talk with Hayden J here. What's going on, everyone? I hope we are all doing extremely well. I am most certainly doing well today. We got a couple of good topics to talk about in today's stream, so I am excited to dive into that. But before we dive into all of today's topics of discussion, please, everyone, smash that like button. Turn on those post notifications. If you are not subscribed already, tell your friends about this channel. Hit that subscribe button. Hit all those buttons, I guess you could say. If you have any comments, questions, concerns related to the Mets, the Phillies, the Tigers, anything MLB related, please feel free to not hesitate. Drop it in the comment section below, or if you're rewatching this on replay, of course, drop it in that comment section. So we got a ton of good stuff to talk about in today's stream. Obviously, not a whole lot of stuff to talk about, more so your guys' comments. We do know that the CBA lockouts are pretty much being spoken about right now. So hopefully maybe we'll get the end of that on this stream so I could kind of, I guess, go over my thoughts. I'm not 100% sure if I'm really not 100% sure what's going to be going on with the lockout. They've been meeting for quite a while now as this is being taking place on Wednesday. So yeah, let's see what is going on with that. So I see we got a couple people in the chat already. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Jed, what's going on, man? AB, what's going on? Logan, I'm doing well, man. I appreciate you asking. It's going through life. Obviously the lockout, it's really, really unfortunate. Very stressful, in my opinion. Obviously, I do not like this lockout whatsoever. I have never been so fond of it. I don't think anyone has been. So, yeah, I guess that's really all we're just going to say. And, yeah, we'll just, just see what's going on. Yeah. Stony, what's going on, man? I'm doing well, brother. Appreciate you asking. Ivan Dos, what's going on? Sean, what's going on? Kobe, what's going on? Trey, what's going on? Trey, with our first, question of the day, you can say. Trey asks, which prospect has more attention to his name, Brett Baty or Francisco Alvarez? And that's a pretty good question, actually. As of right now, we know that the minor leaguers have been, reporting to camp, and they've really been the only guys of discussion these last couple days. Because obviously with the lockout, a lot of players, as we know, Alonso, DeGrom, Nimmo, Marte, and, some of the, other guys, they are not at spring training, or, well, they are in Florida or maybe somewhere warm, practicing and working out, but they can't do it with the New York Mets, which is, just really overall unfortunate because of the lockout. They could practice and train, just not at the New York Met facilities. So that honestly really does suck. Hopefully they can try and get something over that, but I guess let's stop getting away from the question that Trey asked me. And Trey says, who has more attention to his name, Baty or Alvarez? And as of right now, I think it's Brett Baty. Listen, I get it. Francisco Alvarez, I want to say, was ranked ninth in Major League Baseball in majority of their prospect rankings, whether it was Fangraphs, I think, who had him at 7, whether it was Pipeline, who had him at 9. Point is, Alvarez has more of the hype, but I feel Baty, I want to say he's probably ranked somewhere. I want to say Baty was ranked somewhere around like 30s, 40s, which isn't bad. That's pretty good if you ask me. I definitely think Baty has a lot of work to go for. Obviously, he's a third baseman. So, yeah, I mean, maybe, I feel catcher is more the position that a lot of Mets fans are eyeing on, especially with the James McCann situation. But I think third base is plenty important. I mean, like I think most Mets fans know, third base hasn't really had I guess you can say, an established dominant third baseman since, David Wright. And, that is arguably since what? 20, if you want to include David Wright healthy, we're talking 2015, 2014. Maybe that World Series year. That was really the last time we got the best production out of Wright. So that's why I think third base is going to be important. Both positions are really important. I think catcher is definitely a very important position in Major League Baseball, and it's much more important now. Why is that? Because we see how crucial it is to the game with how tough the umpires are now, with strike three calls and just balls versus strike call. Umpires are really tough with that nowadays. It's not like, the 90s or early thousands, when you had your Mike Piazzas or, going back a little farther to your Johnny Benches or, whoever. Point is, the Mets need a defensive catcher. They need someone to work with this awesomeness of a rotation. I know that's not a word, but I mean, look at the Tigers for an example. The Detroit Tigers went out this offseason and got Tucker Barnhart, a guy who's not known for his bat, but is known for his glove. And why did they do that? Because they have a nice young rotation in Casey Mize, Turnbull, Manning, Scoop. They got a lot of young guys that really are trying to learn stuff. And I think bringing that to these guys could really help out. It helps them call the game. It really does help them out quite a bit of time, I guess you could say. So as of right now, hoping both of these guys will turn out to the hype that they claim to be. But as of right now, it's Brett Batty. LFGM, what's going on, Marco? The lockout, yes, we will be getting into that. Santiago, what's going on? Yeah, so Santiago just says any news on the lockout. As of right now, I don't believe there is any news in regards to the lockout. I will be checking Twitter on the stream periodically just to see what's going on. I know that they started the meeting at 1, I want to say, and hey, listen, they've been in there for 4 hours so far. It's 5 o'clock about, a little bit after 5. I'll take it. I mean, I want to say that's good news, but then I also want to say it's bad news. So yeah, I mean, we'll just have to take it with a grain of salt as of right now. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it is good news. That's what I'm hoping. It was reported yesterday that by Jeff Passan that both teams will be meeting, or that both sides, I should say, will be meeting every single day until the 28th, which is MLB's deadline for the lockout, until games would be starting to get delayed. So that is obviously pretty, I guess, good news that they're meeting for so long, but then I also think it kind of sounds bad. I don't know. It really depends, I guess, on what goes on, I guess. This is a good question, Kobe. He says, should MLB get rid of the shift? I've never really had a huge problem with the shift. Nowadays, I guess now with how baseball terminology is, the shift has a much larger role than I guess it has maybe, 10 years ago. We see teams shift a lot. I want to say they did a stat on MLB Network where it was like 50,000 shifts this year, compared to like 3,000 in 2013. So they tripled by tens and tens and tens and tens of thousands. So that's just mind-boggling, really, to think about on how much the game is changing. Personally, I don't think that Major League Baseball should have a ban on the shift or get rid of the shift. I know they were talking about that in the new CBA potentially. I think maybe they should have limitations on the shift. So maybe you could only have 2 guys shift, because I'll see, Manny Machado for the Padres playing right field practically, and he's supposed to be a third baseman. What are you doing out there? So maybe I think there should be limitations, but not a ban. So when I say limitations, maybe you have to have, maybe you have to have, 2 players on the dirt on their side, and maybe you could put 2 guys, I guess, on the grass. So it's kind of stuff like that. But, I think the shift is interesting. It really helps teams think, and, teams with good defense really gets to their advantage. Stoney says, did they do any talking today in the lockout? They did. Obviously, the CBT is going to be the biggest thing with both sides. But we know that they got some of the stuff like the arbitration, the Super 2s. They're starting to get out of that. They're starting to get a lot of that out of the way. So that's some good news. There hasn't really been much progress. But listen, I guess you could kind of just say that the deadline is the 28th. So they're going to use up to the 27th, or literally the morning of the 28th. It's kind of like the MLB trade deadline. There's so much talk, saying days before, oh, this guy isn't on the market, this guy isn't for sale, and then the day comes and they put him up. I mean, we heard it so many times where the Cubs were like, oh, Baez isn't for sale, boom, we got him. Just stuff like that. When this isn't business talk with Hayden, but when you're trying to get a deal, you're going to wait to the last second. One, so there's more pressure, a side could cave. Cal says, should the Mets explore a reunion with free agent Michael Conforto? I say it doesn't hurt. Yeah, I mean, listen, there's a lot of people that are, from what I've seen, who are pretty much 50-50 on Conforto. I really hate to, I guess, bash on Conforto is really what I want to say. as of right now, it seems that Conforto really had one of the worst struggles at the worst possible time that a guy can have. And when is that? That is when you're about to hit the free agent market. No player ever wants to have a slump at that time. That is just absolutely the worst time to have a struggle. And I mean, it's true. As of right now, I think it's going to come down to, where you would put him. I easily think he could still play right field. I think there is room for him in right field. Now with the DH spot, that gives the Mets much more flexibility. Mark Cano could be moved to the bench, or call me crazy. I mean, I doubt I could see him as a DH. My only big issue with Conforto is being a victim of the shift. I will say he needs to start going the opposite way. A lot of teams are shifting, so he needs to learn to go the opposite way a little bit more. Conforto, we saw, we had that sweet swing, line drive mentality. He hit for a little power, I'll say. I mean, 2019, I want to say he had like 30 home runs, so that obviously wasn't bad. But I definitely think Conforto has a lot of work to do this offseason if he wants a team to sign him and go after him, I guess. Yeah, you guys did. Sports fan says Conforto is a good player. He's not great and probably will never reach the high hopes that baseball people had for him. A good team player, but not a superstar. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I don't know if Conforto will ever be his, 2020 self, I guess you could say. I mean, 2020 was an awesome year for him. But unfortunately, short season. I know he won the MLB All-Second Award. So he was the second best right fielder, I guess you could say, in essence. But yeah, overall, I mean, Conforto, really hasn't had that much of a great season besides 2019 and 2017. And I mean, people say, oh, he was an all-star in 2017. Yeah, because the Mets had they were, I don't want to say rebuilding, but they were in that weird phase from the dark ages turning into the new Cohen era, or at least the building blocks for him, at least. So, as of right now, I mean, if it really is going to depend, I think it's more on Conforto. I think it's more on Conforto rather than the Mets. We know that Buck Showalter expressed some interest in him. I never really knew that Showalter had such high emotions and I guess such high feelings for Conforto. But hey, I guess he does. But I think it's going to be down to Conforto and Scott Boras. Scott Boras is definitely a pain in the behind. I mean, I respect him. He fights for his guys. That's great. That's cool. But he is a really tough guy, and I mean, a lot of the big all-star guys are using him, and I think both him and the Mets are on different sides of the page. They want more money, and I just think it's questionable. Are the Mets really going to give him a long-term deal? 5, 6, 7 years, whatever. $200 million plus. I don't know if the Mets are willing to do that. He declined the qualifying offer earlier this offseason. So I don't know. Stoney says, wow, 4 hours, that's the most. Yeah, that is true, man. That is the most they have been in a meeting. That is, I guess, good news that they're still meeting. I'll check Twitter in a minute. But yeah, I guess that's good news they're in a meeting. I mean, hey, it's better than the 15-minute shenanigans that we had like 2 weeks ago, so I'll take it. I do want to check Twitter, though, in 1 second, so just stand by for a minute. So yeah, Let's check Twitter. Let's see what's going on. Thoughts on Matt Harvey? Yeah, Elliot. We'll get into that in 2 seconds. Let me just check some let's check Twitter. We know. Yeah, I definitely will. I definitely do want to touch on that. Evan Drellick, obviously, who's been one of the biggest guys on Twitter, I guess, reporter talking about the lockout, just tweeted out saying, "Source: MLB's only proposal so far today added $10,000 to the minimum salary per year." Jeez, that's a joke. MLB also withdrew its proposal for an alternate minimum system that was tiered based on service time. They aren't done talking yet. All right, so it's not the best news, but they're still talking, and that was tweeted 21 minutes ago. So pretty much we know that they are going 10,000. So I guess it would start off 2020 to 640,000, and then keeps going up all the way to 2026, 680,000. So it goes up 10,000 per year. So it's not the best news, but hey, they're still talking. Yeah, they've been talking since 1 a.m. Jeff Passan just tweeted out saying 5 days before the deadline, MLB will postpone regular games. Here's the gap. So the CBT, the gap is 31 million. Pre-arbitration bonus pool, 95 million. The minimum salary, 135,000 per player. And then the draft lottery by 3 picks. So it's definitely a lot to cover in less than a week. A little concerning. We'll see. We will see. So I'll leave my Twitter up so I can keep looking at that. So, Elliot is asking about the Matt Harvey situation. We did briefly talk about that last stream, but I do want to touch on that. So, obviously, I guess we'll try and keep it PG because why not? Obviously, we all know what down with Matt Harvey. Really unfortunate issue. And it's really unfortunate because what we saw with Matt Harvey, simply enough, dating back to when he made his rookie debut in 2013, he really looked like he was going to be the next big thing. And simply enough, unfortunately, he had his great years. 2013, phenomenal. 2014, phenomenal. 2015, I mean, he really helped the Mets contribute to that World Series push. And then, unfortunately, what happened was, I mean, he got that surgery. I think it was his elbow after 2016. He was never the same pitcher again. He really had his fair share of stints where he was dominant, and then he would have his fair share of stints where he just struggled like crazy. That was really that with Harvey. And then in terms of the issue, we all know what he was doing in between games. He was making unfortunate choices in terms of drugs. And listen, I think it's safe to say that Matt Harvey really liked to live the luxurious life. We know that he was a party goer. We know that he lived in New York. So he liked to go out. There were times where he would show up to practices or to the ballpark a little late because he overslept or he had his issues. There was that famous game, multiple games where he was pitching with the bloody nose, and everyone was making jokes about it and memes. And little did people know what that was really from, doing some certain activity before the game. That was really unfortunate. Listen, I feel bad for Matt Harvey. I never would have thought in a million years that he really would have been connected to the whole Tyler Skaggs issue. I feel bad that, no one would have thought that Matt Harvey was going through this stuff. I know what he reached out with Terry Collins and all of them spoke about his personal issues. And I know Harvey had some resolutions that were very inadequate on how to deal with that. And it really broke my heart when he spoke about that because you never would have thought. You thought he was pitching for the New York Mets and he was living his life. And unfortunately he wasn't. He was having his fair share of issues on the field. And I'm glad that Terry Collins was a guy that he was able to reach out to. I question, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? This wasn't released during his time. Could it have prevented this? I don't think it would have prevented the Tyler Skaggs incident. But, I really don't know what it would have done into, I guess, Major League Baseball. Overall, unfortunate, but, hey, that's life. People make unfortunate choices, and, I wish Matt Harvey the best of luck. This is a topic I enjoy because this is personal. So, if most of you guys do not know already, I am blocked by Marcus Stroman on Twitter for really no reason at all. I've never messaged him. I've never tagged him. I've never DM'd him. No interaction with him whatsoever. I think I went to tag him in something because it was like he was pitching he was a game day for him, and I wanted to tag him or something, and it wouldn't let me tag him. And I was like, that's weird. Why wouldn't it let me tag Stroman? It never gives me this problem. And apparently what happened was it said I was blocked by Stroman. And I said, wait a minute. What happened? Why am I blocked by Stroman? Apparently Marcus Stroman blocked me. Why? I couldn't tell you why. Pretty unfortunate why, I guess. So listen, this is with Marcus Stroman. Stroman was really dominant this season. He really had a good season, the best of his career, arguably. He had an incredible first half. Didn't really slow down in the second half. I think he definitely was up to par with his performance. I really liked what we saw out of him. His troubles off the field was definitely something. Obviously, in terms of Marcus Stroman, he was a guy who really has his problems. I don't want to say he has a big mouth, but he definitely likes to voice his opinion a little too much on Twitter. We know that he, I think, blocked Jeff McNeil at one point or something like that. Don't quote me on that. We know that, he went off on a lot of the Mets organizations saying they don't want him and that they were racist. And I honestly, I'm not going to sit here and even go bother to say what happened with Stroman. Yeah, point is he had a lot of issues. And in terms of Stroman, I mean, last night he pretty much went to Twitter, and I would love to read the exact tweet by Stroman, but I'm blocked by him, so I can't read it, unfortunately. But if we want, I can go to the group chat where some of the guys and I mentioned what Stroman said. And what did Marcus Stroman say? He took to Twitter last night. We know that the Chicago Cubs signed him to a deal recently, and Marcus Stroman took to Twitter last night, tweeting out in, I guess, some range, pretty much saying, just look at who the Mets hired as their GM. Billy Epler, he's saying. That tells you enough. His lack of awareness in his previous position is being expressed to the public now. I'm beyond thankful I'm gone from that organization. God got me. And yeah, so that is what Marcus Stroman tweeted out. A little salty. I don't know why he tweeted that out exactly. I don't know if he had a bad day and he just wanted to take it out on someone. Beats me. Point is, in my opinion, not even from a baseball point of view, but just pretty immature. I mean, just keep it to yourself. You know, I talked about it pastly on this stream. Social media and athletes really don't click. You know, a lot of these guys open their mouths and, you know, it comes to the point where it's just like, don't. Yeah, just social media and athletes never really seem to click. Yeah, just really foolish comments by Stroman. Best of luck in Chicago. Hopefully he doesn't act that way. I wish him the best of luck. Yeah. Trey, what's going on? Trey says, should Nimmo play center field? I will say his defense improved a lot last season and seems to read the ball much better. Yeah, absolutely, man. I will definitely agree with you. Brandon Nimmo has definitely improved much better defensively, obviously, compared to, I guess, 2018 through 2020. He's reading the ball well. He had a nice couple diving catches this season. My only issue with his defense is he plays really far back on the warning track. And I swore someone asked me this last stream. Maybe I'm making it up, or maybe I'm not. I don't know. But he really plays really far back on the warning track. And my issue with that is, one, it's going to increase his odds of injury, because if he's diving like that, he's going to hurt or break something or dislocate something. But simply enough, there's going to be a lot of times where, if, you know, there's a nice BABIP single hit shallowly to, you know, a little bit behind second base, you know, that right side of the infield, you know, you're going to be seeing McNeil and Lindor or who's ever out playing second that day be running to the outfield. I saw that a lot. There were a lot of times where that happened. So that's my only issue with Nimmo. He has the speed, yet he kind of has the speed. I mean, he's not like Trey Turner or Starling Marte's speed, but he has the athleticism and the speed to locate the ball and make some diving catches and some good plays. You know, we saw that he made a couple nice grabs in the warning track. He had that good rob against, I think it was Brian Reynolds or someone from the Pirates, where he robbed them. And that's because he plays so far back. So he has a lot of time to see where the ball's going. So just maybe he could work on that in spring training and during the season. Why not? But as of right now, I wouldn't mind it. I think it's going to come down to his contract. You know, will he be more valuable as a center fielder? I mean, I don't think he has the arm to play for right field, but usually left field is where you put your worst defender, and I don't think Nimmo should be in that category or position, really. You know, if it's every now and then, why not? I don't have an issue with that, but I don't think that should be his main defined role. You know, if you move Cano to left and then Marte in right, maybe. I mean, the thing is, I think the Mets signed Marte because he's a right fielder, so I really don't know. It's going to be interesting. Kobe says Jake Mangum is showing off down in Florida. I think he's very underrated. Yeah, I will say, I mean, I watched a video SNY put on their YouTube channel. He looks like a really interesting guy. Didn't really know much about him, I guess, before. I will say he has some incredible defense. Obviously, a lot of the hype is on, you know, Beatty and a lot of other guys, and Mauricio and Vientos. If he won't be a DH, most likely he will. But yeah, I will say his glove has been looking phenomenal. He's been looking really good so far. And yeah, hopefully he can keep at it. Yeah, I heard that Stroman. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, hopefully you did see my little rant. Cal, what's going on? Cal says, which team has the best rotation in baseball? That's a good question. So you have a lot of good rotations out there. You have the Dodgers. They lost Scherzer, which definitely put a dent in it. Will they re-sign Kershaw? I think so. But still good style rotation, with Kershaw, with Buehler, with Urias. I don't know what they're doing with Bauer, but they still got some stuff connecting over there. Padres got a solid rotation. Unfortunately, Snell and Darvish did not have the best second half or first half. Got a little bit better in the second half. Chris Paddock didn't look good this season. Nelson Lamet was injured. They'll be getting Mike Clevenger. He's recovering from Tommy John, so hopefully, he'll be slow at first, but hopefully he can go back to his old Cleveland self with them. Who else do they have in there? I got some solid guys in that rotation. You got the Brewers rotation. I think the Brewers rotation is probably my answer. Simply enough, with that Woodruff, Burns, Peralta 3 combo. Those 3 guys are going to be competing for Cy Young. Those 3 guys are arguably going to be all-stars for the Brewers. So I think it's the Brewers. They got so far last season, and it wasn't really because of their offense. Yeah, Willie Adames had some nice times. I get it, Luis Urias, but they relied a lot on their pitching. And the Brewers games that I've watched and kept score of, they were really low-run games. I can't tell you how many times the Brewers gave up, 6, 7, 8 runs. Not a whole lot. So, yeah, I think it's Brewers. Brewers, I got to say. Mets are up there, but I don't think they're, up there. Marlins, Mets, too. Any guys on the Mets organization? Any guys on the Mets organization that they should draft this summer, I think is what you're saying. I don't really follow much college and pre-draft baseball. I guess all I'll say is obviously the Mets should probably go after some outfield help. Maybe some pitching arms. Obviously, pitching is one thing the Mets are going to be needing. But really, there's no one specifically that I say, the Mets should go after so-and-so. Sports fan says, have you heard Alvarez's goal is hitting the bigs? I did. Realistically, I don't think he'll hit the bigs in April at least, because he's so young. He's 20. And I know I've always said on this channel that I want the Mets to start calling up their guys at a much younger age. Listen, they're not going to be the next Juan Soto or Ronald Acuna Jr. So many guys get called up so much, later. Peter Alonso didn't make his debut to 24, 25? The Mets need to start calling their guys up early. That is one thing I want. If anyone were to ask me, what is one thing that the New York Mets could do different? That would be the one thing that I would like the New York Mets to do different, is to call up their guys much younger. Start to develop these guys more. If you're drafting guys 18, 19, what, you're going to leave them in, the farm for 7, 8 years? I don't know. But in terms of Alvarez, I think catcher has the one excuse, just because it's a position that really needs to be matured defensively. Offensively, I like what we're seeing. His power, he's mashing the balls. He's fine. I'm not super concerned about the offense. He definitely could do some more hits. Why not? Keep up with it. But his defense is good, but I don't think it's what his offense is. And I think he definitely has some stuff to work on with the defense, which is why I want him to continue to play in the farm, in minor league baseball. Catcher is that one position. He's not like a first baseman or a center fielder or a third baseman. It's much different. But as of right now, I think it comes down to, how do I word this? I think it's going to come down to, personally, maybe Alvarez could make it up in September for the, what is it called in September? The MLB call-ups. But that's pushing it. I really can't see Alvarez making it in 2022. 2023, April, sure, why not? That's plenty of time. It's over a year away. It's, 14 months away? But I just think that it's too close for Stroman to make – not Stroman. I think it's too close for him to make it, yeah. Stoney says, I don't care what they're negotiating. I just want goddamn bit. Yeah, man, listen, I agree with you. I want baseball more than ever right now. I was supposed to go to spring training this year. I bought tickets for opening day with the Astros and Mets at Port St. Lucie. I was going to go with the 7 line. I was also going to go out to a sports bar with a lot of Mets fans, talk Mets baseball. And unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. But hey, listen, there'll be plenty of more times. I don't think the Mets are going anywhere, and I don't think I'm leaving Florida anytime soon. Obviously, with school and stuff, we will have to see where I will be at. But yeah, we'll see. Kobe says Alvarez said his goal is to make the major leagues this season. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hopefully you did kind of hear. I know you guys kind of commented that probably at like the same time. And the lockout. We got a little end the lockout chant. I agree, guys. Let's end the lockout. I agree. Santiago says, do you follow college baseball? Not really. I've never really been a big college baseball guy. I don't know. I've just never really had the interest, I guess. No, Matt Harvey was doing a lot of drugs. Well, he was doing a lot of he was doing a lot of cocaine, unfortunately, in between the games and dugout. He may have had a drinking problem. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I know he had his issues with cocaine. I don't know if he had a drinking problem. He may have. But hopefully he can get over that. Trey, what's going on? Trey says, what do the Mets do with Robbie Cano? I made a video on 3 things what the New York Mets should do with Robbie Cano. So definitely, Trey, check that out. But in terms of what the New York Mets should do with Robinson Cano, you have the DH role, the bench, or read out his contract. Simple as that. Joe, what's going on? Joe says, Conforto is proof why you don't rush a prospect up before he's ready. Exactly. I agree with you. I don't think Conforto was rushed. Yeah, he was called up a little young because of the, injury incident. And, I guess Kadire wanted him to play over him. I agree to some extent. I think draft him young and call him up young, but they have to be ready. Yes, sir. Yes, Brandon, I am wearing my Detroit Tigers hat. Absolutely. And speaking of the Tigers, Alex says, nothing was learned from 1994. Fans today are not as diehard as they were back then. Any delay to the start of the season, it will be a fight to keep the fans you have instead of trying to gain. Yeah, exactly, man. I agree. I think as of right now, it just does not look good for Major League Baseball to have this shenanigans. It really doesn't look good, especially after 2020. And, we want baseball. We want baseball. No other sport is having this issue. I don't see any other sport having, collective bargaining issues or financial issues with contracts. I've never, maybe the NHL, sure, in 2004, whatever, but recently I haven't been seeing it. But I agree with you, Alex. They got to get something done. I agree. Supposed to be going to a Tigers game, hopefully. Kobe says Mets should have a huge advantage with the DH. They have a lot of choices. Cano, Davis, and Smith. They do. Mets definitely benefit from the designated hitter role. Besides it benefiting, it helps Mets manager now, Buck Showalter, with the lineup. Obviously, you don't have to, make the adjustments with the pitcher or the bullpen pitchers batting. So this will help out the Mets a ton. And the Mets have so much room on the roster. You could really throw in, like you said, you have so many more guys besides those guys that could qualify for the DH role. And like I said, whether you have Cano against righties, Davis against lefties, other way around, my bad, you could have something like that. Doesn't hurt. You don't have to have one DH. It's not like the New York Yankees and they have Stanton, and maybe Judge every now and then plays the DH. But I think that's different because that's more injury-based, which, hey, that doesn't hurt. Cano is old, so that doesn't hurt. And maybe, I don't know how Davis is recovering, but also doesn't hurt. Stoney says, I want us to go out like the 86 Mets this year. I hope so, man. I really hope so. Timothy, what's going on? Timothy says, will the owners and players union finally agree to a new CBA and end the lockout tomorrow? Yeah, man, I really hope so. I really hope they can. As of right now, it's not looking good. I don't want to say it's not looking good. There's definitely a lot of room to make. Twitter just says that Francisco Lindor is out of the meeting. Awesome. Let's see. Bob Nightingale tweeted nothing really interesting. We know that some of the players have showed up to talk about their thoughts and opinions. They arrived in their private jets. The bogus, how that's funny. I'm trying to look. If you guys want, Evan Drellick, I think is his name. He is the best in terms of Twitter news with the lockout. And I've never heard of him before this. And I guarantee you, whenever the lockout ends, everyone's going to forget about him, which I kind of feel bad, but oh well. Let's see if he said anything new. He's from The Athletic. Nothing is new. They're still meeting, I guess. I think it's the players that some of the players have left. I know Lindor bounced out, but yeah, I think that is it as of now. We have a couple more tweets. Nothing. Trey says we need starting pitching, especially relief pitching, because unless we plan to outscore teams, exactly, man, that was the big issue last season, and Mets need pitching. I mean, Walker, will he be fatigued? Can he go a first full year with DeGrom and Scherzer? It's still questionable. Can they be healthy and give you the innings? I mean, I don't know what's going on with Carrasco, his first inning complexities. Hopefully McGill is dominant still. We'll see. Nick, what's going on, Nick? Nick Rickman says, where will Freeman sign? And yeah, I think that's a big question, very important for the Atlanta Braves. Yesterday, it came out saying that most likely MLB indicates that Freeman will not be re-signing with the Braves, and that'll be a huge slap on the wrist for the Braves because that's their franchise player. Maybe besides Ronald Acuna Jr., and I don't know why they want to re-sign him. I'm not a Braves fan. I don't really follow the Braves a whole lot, so I couldn't tell you why. I'm not a Atlanta Braves front office expert. Maybe it has something to do with the years or the contracts. I couldn't tell you why. But yeah, as of right now, I think the Dodgers are a fair pick for Freeman. I think the Yankees are a fair pick for Freeman. Yankees, I don't know what's going on with first base for them. I don't know what they're going to do with Rizzo. Voit, DH him, or I don't know what they're doing with Voit. He hasn't been working out recently to an extent. Besides 2020, I guess. But yeah, Yankees need some first base help. I guess the Yankees, Dodgers are the two that stick out to my head. And I guess obviously re-signing with the Braves is really what sticks out. Paul, what's going on? Sports fan says keep Smith and McNeil. One bad year doesn't mean jack. I like both players to improve with this lineup. Yeah, man, I agree with you. Obviously, one unfortunate bad year doesn't do something. I'll agree with you on McNeil, but not Smith. I guess starting off with Dom Smith, I just feel he doesn't have much of a value with this team. He's not a natural outfielder. Why waste his talent on this team? I feel he is perfect trade bait for it, like a starting pitcher or something around those lines. I just feel there's nowhere to put Dom Smith. He's a bench bat. If he wants to play on the bench, go ahead. I don't know if the Mets are going to want to do that to him. Maybe. But Jeff McNeil, I definitely would like to keep because Jeff McNeil, a year ago at this time, McNeil was what, the second best second baseman in MLB? Right behind DJ LeMahieu, and now it's, he's bad. He's done. What happened? They give up so quickly. Oh, Lindor had a bad year. Does that mean he's done? I don't get it. I really don't. Nick says, hi, Hayden. What's going on, brother? Cole, what's going on? Long time no see. Good to see you here, man. Mr. Brandon says, I want Jack Morris to have his job back. If Howard can throw a punch and only get 5 games off, and Jack should get his job back. It's funny. Trey says, how about making a blockbuster trade for Shane Bieber? Ooh, that would be something. That would be a really interesting trade. For Shane Bieber, you are going to have to give up a lot, though. That is my big issue. The Mets and the Guardians have been trading partners these last couple years, I guess, or really just last year. But Bieber would really dig up a lot of the farm. But having a rotation of DeGrom, of Scherzer, and Bieber is really a solid 1, 2, 3. But you are going to be giving up. I'm not against giving up Mauricio. Like I said, he's a shortstop. We have shortstop locked down for the next 10 years. Unless they want to trade him for the outfield or second base or third base, which they haven't started, what are you doing with him? Dominic Smith and Ronnie Mauricio are the 2 guys that I would like in a trade bunch with, a 16th or 17th round guy for someone solid. Obviously, that would never be the trade for Bieber. I don't think so. But you would be giving up a fair amount. You would be giving up possibly a Vientos or Mauricio, some other guys mixed into that. I don't know what's going on with Cleveland. They're like the 5 to 10 games below 500. They have J-Ram, who best third baseman in the league, in my opinion. They're pitching. They seem to develop guys and send them all away. I don't know what they're doing. I mean, they got Jimenez and Rosario. Otherwise, I couldn't tell you much. Timothy, what's going on? Yeah, I did read that. I don't. Hopefully, I don't know about tomorrow. It'll probably be the 28th. Yeah, I agree. Unfortunate choice by Harvey. Cal says, what team missed the playoffs in 2021 that will make it in 2022? Ooh, that's a good question. What team missed? So I'm going to say the Blue Jays. I think they're a fair team. They've made a lot of progress this offseason, and I think starting pitching was their one issue last season. They addressed that. Obviously, extending Barrios, signing Gausman will help things out. The bullpen is where they need a little bit of help, and I think the Blue Jays can do that. Maybe if they sign another guy like Pineda or someone like that, you move Nate Pearson to the bullpen, help him develop into a pitcher, kind of like what the Brewers did with Corbin Burns, develop into him a pitcher in the bullpen, and then put him into the rotation. LFGM, absolutely. Get rid of Cano. Yeah, there's 3 options. What's good, Hayden? Would you rather sign Conforto or let him walk and get a pick? What's going on, John? As of right now, I wouldn't be against the Mets signing Conforto. I definitely think there's a lot to work with him. I think it's just going to come down to really the contract. In terms of him as a player, I like to consider myself positive. Never would have thought I would have said that on the channel about Conforto. I never know. Maybe him and Eric Chavez could have some connection and work on going for the opposite way and pull the ball more off the ground, connect more, line drive mentality. We'll see. I would hate to see him walk because I guarantee you he'll walk to a team like the Phillies or the Yankees, and he'll just be like an all-star caliber player. That just has Mets written all over it. Timothy says, Hayden, will Pete Alonso be the Mets DH? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think Pete Alonso has really proved himself at first base at that position. He's publicly came out and said he doesn't want to play DH. He wants to be the first baseman because he's done so a lot. And I agree. I really think that he's improved a lot defensively at first. So why waste his ability there? So we'll see. We'll see. Definitely a lot to do. I think Alonso is a first baseman. I really don't think he's going to want a DH. Don't get me wrong. If there's ever a time where he needs the DH, I wouldn't go against it. LFGM says Kobe. Absolutely. Absolutely. Will Freddie Freeman sign with the Nationals following Jordan Zimmerman's retirement? Nah, they're rebuilding. I don't think they're looking into any big contracts. Soto is their big guy to focus on. Mets could get Freddie Freeman. Yeah, they could. I mean, it would sound crazy for me to decline it, but it's another. I'm not saying it's another huge contract, but I don't think the Mets are going to go after him. Elias, what's going on, man? Appreciate you tuning in, brother. Shane Bieber would be nice. He would. Even with Jeff's attitude, I still don't like Jeff. Yeah, I'll agree with you on that, Stoney. I think his attitude is where he has to calm down, but this is what I will say. Buck Showalter is the manager of the Mets. The reason Jeff McNeil did this crap last year is because of Rojas, and he didn't control him, and he didn't tell him to chill. Buck Showalter managed one of the biggest hotheads in baseball, Manny Machado. Whether Machado was storming the mound at Ventura, whether he was throwing his helmet at Josh Donaldson, Buck Showalter was able to work with him. And I'm not saying McNeil was anywhere that crazy, but Showalter knows what he's doing, so I'm not that worried about his attitude. Where will Polaris sign? Well, I believe the Mets have him for another year. I think they have him for 2 years, so he's still a Met, I believe. I think it's Villar that is the free agent, and I wouldn't be against signing Villar to a short-term deal. I don't know if he's going to want to play an everyday position. I don't think the Mets could guarantee him an everyday position, so it's going to come down to either or. Timothy says, will the Mets trade Brandon Nimmo and starting pitching prospects Junior Santos and Ventura to the Padres for Blake Snell? I never even heard of Robert Hassel, so I really couldn't tell you, man. Sony says, for J-Ram, still an option for us? Absolutely. I definitely think J-Ram is still an option. As of right now, I don't think it's likely. If there were to be a bundle, I mean, a Bieber and J-Ram, but that would clear the Mets farm, and that's not a risk I'm willing to take. Great stream, Cal. Appreciate it, man. Hayden, will the Mets trade Carlos Carrasco and prospects Khalil Lee and Alex Ramirez to the Nationals for Juan Soto? A good question. You just got Carrasco, and that is definitely not a lot for the Nationals. I don't think they would ever take that in a million years. Alex Ramirez is solid. I mean, Khalil Lee is about MLB ready. I don't know what's going on with Carrasco. I don't think the Washington Nationals would ever sign off on that. I mean, they would want a Beatty or a Vientos or Mauricio. They're going to want more. We got 17 people in the chat. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Trace's favorite player on the Mets. As of right now, my favorite player on the Mets. Hold on. Favorite player on the New York Mets has to be Pete Alonso. No doubt about it. Timothy says, Timothy says, will the Mets sign Freddie Freeman to be their DH? Probably not. I don't think so. Owen, what's going on, brother? Appreciate you tuning in. Glad you could make it. Colin, what's going on, Colin? Hope you're doing well. Colin says, who was your favorite player on the Mets ever? All time? All time? I was born in 2002. So my favorite player of all time has to be David Wright. In terms of a pitcher, a guy like Tom Seaver would be nice. Mr. Brandon says Jack Moore's had a 10-game suspension, is now back at his job. Interesting. Stoney says, any tweets about the lockdown right now? There is nothing right now, I believe. Nothing right now. Owen, what's going on? Karen, what's going on? Nick says, will Pilar resign with the Mets? Pilar wouldn't. I wouldn't be against the Mets bringing back Pilar. I definitely think it could really help out this team to some extent. Yeah, I think it could definitely help out to some extent. But as of right now, I don't think he's the top priority. I think he's a nice outfielder for the Mets. He's a nice bench bat. He can come into clutch and extras. As of right now, he isn't like my top guy that's like, okay, the Mets have to bring back LFGM. So we're probably going to call it a stream here, everyone. I really, really do appreciate you guys tuning in. Definitely, hopefully, with the lockout, some things can be resolved. Fingers crossed. I'm hoping we could make some progress. Let me check Twitter and see what's new. Nothing seems to be new. I mean, they're still meeting. Are they out of the meeting? Because they've been meeting for, 5 hours just now? That's crazy. I haven't seen anything. We know that Francisco Lindor left. Francisco Lindor just walked out with a big smile on his face. The two sides were meeting, but Lindor felt like this. Okay, great. Here are the latest proposals. So it seems in terms of the minimum proposals, okay, yeah, there's definitely going to be some work. But we're going to have to see how this goes for the New York Mets. Going to be interesting. We're going to have to see. So probably going to call it a stream here. Definitely appreciate you guys tuning in as always. If you are new to the channel, as always, please smash that like button, turn on those post notifications. Obviously, tell your friends about this channel if you have not already. Listen, I get it. Major League Baseball, the news right now has been quiet to some extent. But, you guys, we had a great stream. We had a lot of new people. We hit 5 new subscribers this stream. So, definitely really appreciate that, guys. I do want to thank you guys before I leave for that Twitter blow up. I would like to point out what happened on my Twitter. My Twitter my Twitter post got 98,000 views. I want to point this out because this was a freaking crazy thing. I want to point this out before we get out of here. My Twitter post blew up. So I just want to thank you guys for this. I'm going to share it because I did not expect this in a million years. So this was my recent Twitter thing. It got over 691 likes. Let's get that to 700 likes. It had over 31 retweets and 54 comments and at over 98,000 views. That is phenomenal. Awesome. I really do appreciate you guys for that. Obviously with the lockout, times have been tough. I understand that. But definitely moments like that really makes me happy. And we just gained 5 new subscribers this stream. So, hey, good for me. Yeah. Otherwise, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Till next time, baseball fans, see ya.